3, 2, 1. You're using clips from the 97 movie. This is episode 97. Hello, I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast. That was a quote from the Kimba-spiracy. Who else is here?
Well, you caught me off guard there with that screaming. I wasn't ready. And I interrupted you, Ralph. Sorry. Yeah, this is Alex from IHE, and my voice is screwed up. I apologize for that.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
Yeah, no, it's not COVID this time. It was a flu this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just getting over it, so apologies, everyone. It's a Halloween cold.
That's crazy. Stop getting sick.
I want to. Help me.
Just stop it. Stop it already.
I'm trying.
Oh, I feel better. Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's film loses its director because
Wait, what?
because of creative differences. Because apparently the way that the film is being made is that the crazy man, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, has to sign off on like everything. Chris Columbus was the director, and now who's the asshole that makes Fright Nights at Freddy's? Scott Cawthorn. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, he has the equivalent of a final cut. Says that was
so they
Blum.
got rid of the guy who directed Harry Potter.
Scott Cawthorn is the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, who has to sign off on everything, and then Chris Columbus was going to direct the movie and now is not.
Yeah.
And it feels really weird because like I thought that this was already
that's not good.
into filming and production.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah. What's really funny is that there's a Reddit post from a while back promoting the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's thing. I think it was like an AMA from the Five Nights at Freddy's creator, Scott Cawthorn. And in the post, he says he shared details about 10 different versions of Five Nights at Freddy's before praising what he dubbed the Mike screenplay, writing all the right characters, all the right motivations, all the right stakes. It's fun, it's scary, and has a great central story. And so that Mike screenplay, the code name that they gave the screenplay, is what they were using that he now is taking massive issues with, that apparently these issues are so big that the director's just gone now. so massive contradiction from what he was saying earlier on Reddit.
See, I figured this was just never going to happen.
Yeah, this is
never
funny.
Actually come out.
So
like a Bioshock movie type thing, but FNAF's too big.
Mr. Five Nights at Freddy's is giving Jason Blum a big headache right now, basically. So.
It is a weird choice, though, Columbus. I kind of wanted to see that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now he's gone.
Probably would have been interesting. He's like a real director. He directed the first Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking be dog shit. Like, unless they get like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Which they won't. It's gonna be. They're gonna get some.
Nolan. Finally do a horror movie.
You need to do like a Willy's Wonderland type thing and just make like a schlocky horror movie. Maybe James Wan.
James Wan would be
Something like
fun,
that.
but he's fun in everything.
Yeah, and he's honestly better than that kind of movie.
Yeah.
He's better than a Five Nights at
right.
Freddy's movie, as is Chris Columbus.
Yeah.
To be honest, it doesn't need to be good. It just needs a big CG budget for loads of screaming CG animals to be running around, and it will be huge.
It just needs
give
the
it
title.
A trailer with the same thumbnail.
Like Ready Player One.
Just upload the trailer with the same thumbnail from all those like YouTube reaction videos, and it will be fine. It will be a slam dunk.
I just picture Ready Player One. You can get Spielberg to make it.
Five Nights at Freddy's is the type of franchise that would be successful even if a literal child made the film. Have you seen, there are some YouTube channels where they have like tens of millions of views on like just a couple of their videos, and they're just like Five Nights at Freddy's cosplay, or Five Nights at Freddy's fake story time, or Five Nights at Freddy's animate. Like, it's going to be successful because of the name alone. It doesn't matter what the quality of it is. Like, there's so many of these things.
It is one of those topics, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. There's another example that we're going to talk about next week because it's not out for Alex yet, but that's an example of the name selling something, because it's like, oh, people like it's the thing that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Five Nights at Freddy's, that movie's going to be fucking great, I guess. We saw the new M. Night joint and haven't talked about it yet, and it's making me old.
M. Night joint at the start.
Yeah.
When it started, that's what it said in the credits.
Actually, on the poster, it said the new M. Night trip. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Yeah.
The new trip from
The
M.
new-
Night Shyamalan.
Because I guess they go on vacation.
Yeah, they're on
in
a
the
trip
movie.
now.
That's what it's about.
And it's a trip. The movie's like
Oh,
a
I
hella
see.
trip, man.
Okay.
Let's keep the spoilers to a minimum, because that's like the point of M. Night's movies is the twist.
Or we can just say spoiler alert when we...
Yeah, but first, like briefly,
Sure.
it's about like these group of people that go on vacation and they get on a beach, right, on this island, and they find out like the beach is aging them like rapidly. They
Yeah.
get old very quickly. So like the kids become like a teenager like in an hour, and then you're like, what's going on?
Whoa. It's a beach that makes you
Whoa.
old.
And that was enough to sell it. And then, Alex, what did you think?
Well, it's based, I guess, loosely off a novel, isn't it?
A short
of a
story or
different-
It is?
something.
really?
Yeah.
A
I
short
had
That
no
apparently
idea.
doesn't even
I
have
thought I
good
might just made
reviews.
this shit up.
No.
Yeah, it's only the second story he's adapted from source material. The first being Avatar. So,
Oh,
I mean, it was
Better than The
another
Happening.
M. Night kind of concept horror movie thing that just has all the M. Night kind of trappings. It's got
Mhm.
the typical dialogue, the
He's in it.
kind of fun concepts
He
that
is in it.
devolve.
Mhm.
He is in it,
Like
yeah.
Lady in the Water, like, you know, those kind of M. Night. You know, he's usually in them. That's fine.
It devolves into like such stupidity at a certain point, and especially by the time you get to that like final reveal, it just feels like you just putting twists in your movies at this point, like because you have
Yeah.
to. I guess you've been doing that.
This is
but-
undeserved, unearned.
If
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about what more can we say that's spoiler free? Can we do spoilers? Is there anything else you want to talk about that's like spoiler free?
I don't know. Would you recommend it?
No.
Probably not.
No.
I'd say for M. Night's movies, it's actually pretty good. It's better than The Happening.
No.
Yeah, I suppose out of his pantheon, slightly better
It's better than The
Happening.
Last Airbender. It's better than After Earth.
Yeah, I'd put it above those.
You're naming a bunch of movies that I love, okay? You're naming a bunch of movies that I would
There's some good
see
actors
again.
in this. Like really good actors is the guy from Amores Perros from Phantom
Gael
Thread.
Garcia
There's the
Bernal-
actress from that.
Bernal, sorry.
Yeah, Thomason McKenzie and like Alex Wolff.
Yeah,
is, like,
Alex
the
Wolff.
kids when
Yeah,
they got
yeah.
older. I like them. I hated the
Night.
actors when they got like when they became like adults. Like toward the end, I hated that part. I guess if we
Why are
can
you
get into
spoiling?
spoilers. Yeah. But it's just before we let's say spoilers. And then I'll say it.
Spoilers! Okay, what I wanted to
Okay.
communicate is you two seem to think there's a twist in this movie, and I don't understand that. I don't understand the people that think there's a twist in this movie, because there wasn't. For me, I don't know
There's
where
a
the
bunch
twist
of
was.
twists.
What twist?
I guess
twists
more of a
all over the
reveal
place.
is the way to put it. Because I was the whole time thinking, are they gonna go the mile and like really try and explain the magic of this beach? Are they gonna do that? And they actually do. They like,
Yeah.
we in spoilers.
I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't understand how else it could have been done. Like they were dropped off there by that. Obviously, there was something. There were things in on it. They were being watched from a distance. Like this is all shit that was just known. I don't understand why it's like, oh, there was a crazy amount of rich people that were just doing this for fun. Like, yeah, that was implied. I didn't see it as a twist. Is all I'm gonna say. I just don't understand how it's a twist.
Well, there's a lot of like they're experimenting on the people, using them as like medicine,
Yeah.
medical patients, right? That's like the twist.
I never
You're not supposed to see that
once
coming. It's like
understood that there was a twist in the film.
well, I guess it comes across as a twist if like you're kind of buying into it as just a magical horror premise, which I
Yeah.
kind of did. I wasn't expecting them to
like
go into
allegorical,
actually.
right.
That's a bunch
That's kind of what I
it's
thought.
like a
Lamb,
yeah, like
you know
a
that movie
provable
Lamb,
scientific
like the way they don't
space.
explain?
Yeah,
I
they're
haven't
like
seen that yet.
measuring. Yeah, and then it's like revealed that the scientists are using the time dilation thing to test drugs or whatever, which I guess is a fun
Yeah.
idea, but like the way it's executed and the way they get there with all the choral stuff and just the most bizarre dialogue. His dialogue is like so funny to me. Like what was the beat with this movie? Was it something I missed where they kept bringing up like what their jobs were all the time? People were introducing themselves and saying, "Oh, and this is my job as well." So then later on,
Oh yeah.
their job could become relevant just because they like mentioned it earlier. It was very
Yeah.
odd. Like just the things they're talking
dialogue
about was
sucked.
so like stunt.
The dialogue
it's like
was
hilarious to me
atrocious.
though.
Oh my god.
Really funny. Mid-size sedan is the rapper name. Like that was really funny. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny or just bad. There's just a ton of things like that.
There are very few notes that I took for this film. I'll be watching it a second time and making a review. But the one note I took, because I saw it in theaters and you can't have your phone out during a movie, but this stuck with me after. The dogs died, but he was just alive.
Yeah, I know that down.
Great dialogue like that. Yeah. Your hair and nails are dead, so they don't grow. What? Like that, I love how much they try to explain about this shit, where it's like, it does ruin itself by trying to over-explain, because then there's the implication like anything you're watching actually makes sense when it doesn't. I hate how this is a concept where if a different director took this concept, if you had like somebody who actually gave a shit about this,
yep,
you could turn it into something really, really impressive. You could turn it into something where you watch it and you're like, wow, the filmmaking, like the way that this was organized and presented is just crazy. But instead, it's just like there's zero consistency in terms of like how time flows and how much people age with time. It's just like, okay, we're going to swap out the actor at this scene. It's done in the most lazy, boring way possible. And in concept, you could make something really cool. You could make it so that it's like almost seamless transitions. You could create like, I don't know, prosthetics that are halfway between the actors or something like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be like a really interesting way to film it? But no, it's just fucking lazy bullshit. Oh my god. There's like, wasn't there like a scene where like one of the kids aged but the other didn't, and it was just like, oh, weird?
Yeah, there was just lots of weirdness, full stop.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm going to have to watch it again.
Because, yeah, I could see with the concept where it could be going and what could come of it, especially in the realm of like horror or thriller type stuff. And it's like nearly gets to those levels with the whole kid angle and like the pregnancy stuff. And you could imagine that spun by a different director, framed in a different way, how kind of disturbing and strange it could all be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the execution. It's just bizarre. Like, do you remember early on that weird scene where they're like establishing the kids like dancing, but they're kind of like frozen on the spot? And it's just like, I'm so confused with what you're visually trying to explain to me or like communicate. It's like so muddy and like just a clusterfuck by the time you get to the end. And it's like, what actually was the point of that?
There are a lot of like really weird choices in this movie. Like I forget who the cinematographer was. I forget who it's. I guess the same guy is like Split. I think that's who it is. I'm not even gonna look it up. I'll figure it out later. But he was working with like an actual talented cinematographer, and you can tell in certain scenes that there is like kind of a vision. However, the vision is not being used in service of something. It almost feels like it's conflicting with the film. So there's this weird scene where like the kids are like playing on the beach, and the camera's like swooping around like it's fucking Terrence Malick or some shit, like, and it's just like in the middle of this transitionary scene, and it's like, what are you trying to communicate here? Like, I love creative camera movement. I love when it's like, oh, there's a choice that you're intentionally making, but what is it in service of? Like, it has to be motivated by something and not just, oh, here's a scene where we can make the camera swoop around for some reason. Like, then it's just weird and distracting because the rest of the movie isn't like that. And I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, it's really weird. M. Night Synecdoche, New York. This was M. Night Synecdoche, New York. It really was. It's like if Synecdoche, New York was made by a bad director. That's what this movie
I mean,
is.
yeah. Yeah. But how come earlier you were saying you don't love this one in the same way you do some of his previous gems?
Because it's not as funny. It's like, it's mostly irritating. It's not as bad as The Visit in terms of like how much it irritates me.
Okay, I never saw The Visit.
Like, it takes forever to do nothing. Remember that this was based off of a short story. So he's just stretching this idea out as long as possible to make a feature-length film, right? It really shows. Because it's really not that complicated. They just take forever to do really basic things. It's just so slow. One location, very stagnant, really lazily filmed and presented, and just the dialogue sucks. Everything about it's just so fucking lame.
Yeah, the dialogue in particular, man, it really... I have one noted down here, and I'm trying to even remember the context because it's been a while since I've seen it now, but I was with a man called Giuseppe. We looked silly together, he and I. I'm pretty sure that was the woman who, she had that kind of bone condition thing that was like, turned her into Gollum or something. That was like a horror moment.
Yeah. She was kind of fun. By the time she like died.
Yeah, I wish it embraced that tone more. If it was sillier almost or something. If it had a bit more personality instead of just that droll M. Night thing.
Yeah, totally. It was all over the place. It was just all over the place. What it was trying to do.
I mean,
Kind of a mess.
this was #1 in theaters, and there were a lot of people that took this like completely seriously, and there were a lot of people that loved it. Power to him. Props. I hope M. Night makes more movies forever, but Jesus Christ, this one was really tough to sit through for me. And I'm gonna watch it again so I can take detailed notes for video, but like fuck.
Yeah, this is one that might drive you insane to take detailed notes on and actually try and break down how everything's working, because it gets dumb, man. It gets real dumb with like the tumor stuff,
Yeah.
and the kids growing up, and
The explanations that it offers are just why you should like. I don't know why you would do this. I don't know why you would try to stretch it out like this and make a feature. Like it worked. If money was the answer, then you did a good job. I respect Jason Blum as a businessman more than I respect the films that he produces. But
oh yeah, Sam.
yeah, damn. M. Night's done it again. He's back. You can put his name on the poster again. You know? Me releasing #1 hits.
Is that really what old is? Title as well. Why reduce it down to old?
It is because it's the most
It's
basic
a really
thing possible.
ridiculous title.
There's nothing to the movie. What is the concept? It's a beach that makes you old. That's it. That's done. And you took like an hour. How long is this movie?
Hour 48.
Oh my god, that's so long.
That is too long.
That's insane. And just like, oh, I'm deaf in one ear, so you can kill my husband next to me and I don't notice. Okay. So many frustrating moments.
Yeah, there's just nothing to it.
Yeah, it's a nothing movie.
Yeah, based on the graphic novel Sandcastle.
Yeah, I'll probably have to read that, won't I? Apparently it's short.
Yeah, be curious if that plays around with the concepts a bit better, but if you said it's not even that good
Yeah, who the
originally,
fuck
Yeah.
knows?
what chance did it have?
It would be shocking to find out it's worse than M. Night's adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
That would be shocking. Was this the most dialogue M. Night's given himself in one of his films? And screen time?
I don't think so. I think Lady in the Water has more.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I remember him in that
He was
more.
pretty. Yeah, he was Lady in the Water. There we go. I almost forgot. Who could forget his best film?
Did you think that was a comment on something, that him playing that character in this movie, or?
I don't know. Free acting. He gets to,
Who knows?
be hype himself up and yeah, you know how he thinks of himself.
Well, it's kind of meta. He's like watching the people on the beach, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
the
like filming them, taking
director.
pictures of
You
them.
see him with like the binoculars watching, yeah, taking pictures. It's like, oh yeah, he's the director, and he's the director of the movie.
yeah. The movie I'm making is turning them old.
Something like that.
Synecdoche.
And apparently it was all made under like COVID 2020 like lockdown conditions. It was one of those movies.
Nice.
Doesn't really show in any obvious way, but he got it done.
Well, it's very simple. Yeah.
'Cause they went to a beach that turns them old.
There's nothing complex about it, right? It's all outside.
I mean,
Except for, like, a
outdoor
couple
lighting can
scenes.
add its own struggles, but
But I mean, they shot it all outside. Talk about the COVID condition or whatever.
yeah,
It's mostly outside, so.
true.
What did you think of the whole like the coral thing? Did they like set that up in any way?
Not
before
really.
they-
They're just like, I'm like, how the fuck are they getting out of this? They're like, oh, coral. And they swim to the coral. It's like,
But then like they convince you that they
Coral.
died during
Yeah,
it.
there was
Like-
like a note they found from somebody or something, and then they were like, "Oh, that way."
That's right.
yeah, they like encrypt it. That was fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dumb moments. When she becomes pregnant, that was really funny.
There's some funny moments. We were
The
just
baby dies, like,
playing.
immediately.
That's weird.
It's fucking hysterical.
Yeah, I was laughing pretty consistently with this one. to be
Yeah, it
honest.
was pretty
It
entertaining.
was so boring. I'll watch it again and see what happens. I'll watch it with my roommates or something.
It's pretty funny.
Blu-ray coming out this month,
The
apparently.
fucking camera movements, it would just pan around in circles. It's like seeing it at theater is just like a big mesh. Like you can't even understand. Whatever.
Yeah, it was irritating. 2 out of 10.
2.5 out of 5.
Wow.
That's what I give it. Yeah.
I might even give it lower. I think I might have given this a 1.5 star. I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was so stupid, but pretty funny.
It's stupid.
I recommend
It's fucking
watching
ridiculous.
it if you know, if you're familiar with the bad M. Night movies. It kind of fits in fairly nicely.
I just wish that more happened.
It's fucking stupid as shit.
See, when I think about it, I think about a lot happening, but it's just a lot of dumb stuff.
There's
Like,
not much
these
that
group of
happens.
characters I don't really care about.
There are two films we need to talk about from Alex's recommendation. I guess we didn't talk about which one we want to talk about first.
My gut tells me Bad Taste first.
There we go. That's what I wanted, but I didn't want to say it
Mhm.
before you.
It's his first feature. Came before Braindead. So yeah, this is the first recommended movie of the two. Bad Taste, Peter Jackson. Yeah, his first feature, an hour and a half long. It's kind of about a bunch of aliens come down and take over a small town in New Zealand. Oh yeah, full spoilers. This is all in the description on IMDb, I suppose. And it's kind of a bunch of violent chaos and energy. I'd never seen this film before. I was much more familiar with Braindead, so it was my first experience watching Bad Taste. And got to admit, I didn't really get it until after finishing it and reading about it more, because it's so sort of scatterbrained and you can't really figure out what it's doing or where it's going, and it's so like random, it seems, and like, is this building to anything? Are these scenes like linking in any way? And it's trying to be a kind of comedy horror thing, and so much of the comedy was like not reading right to me, and there's like so much kind of bad ADR and all this technical stuff. But when you do read about like how small budget this was and how Peter Jackson basically just made this with his friends on the weekends over the course of 4+ years and a bit of help from the New Zealand government to get it finished, that gives it a different edge to me that makes me really appreciate it in terms of just that small budget indie creativity that he brought to it over that great time period. And yeah, sure, a lot of it is, I don't think he was working with like a script, like he was kind of making it up as he went along, like quite literally, and I think that shows now it came together. But in that kind of shit on the wall approach, like there is some really kind of funny and brilliant stuff in there that I did enjoy.
Yeah.
What did you guys take away from it?
It's the director of Lord of the Rings.
And that side of it is just
That's all I kept thinking. It's like during all this fucking stupid shit, even in the next movie.
This is where
like,
it began,
this guy made like 3 of the greatest movies of all time. Like epics, like fucking incredible effects and acting. It's like, this movie's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, it's fine. Like you said, it's really fucking cheap. It's like cheap as dog shit. Like lighting and like the locations, the costumes. Yeah, it just seems like a bunch of people like making a movie on a weekend. It's really cheap. Like, but I found that it's charming. I don't think it's the greatest movie, but it's charming.
I hated this movie. I thought it was awful.
Straight up hated it.
Yeah, it was just
interesting
in terms of like what it was offering. Sure, yeah, it's very interesting about how low budget it was, but that's what the special feature documentary is for. It's on YouTube, by the way. It's called "Good Taste Made Bad Taste." That was a good experience, and it gave me more appreciation for the film Bad Taste. But it doesn't change the fact that all of that was in service of nothing. Like watching the film, I'm like, oh, there's some cool shots here and there. And like, obviously near the end, it's like, oh, the miniature and all that. Like, oh, that's really cool. And then finding out that it's made for nothing. That's awesome. Finding out that Peter Jackson played 2 characters in the film. Like that was cool. Cause I thought it was only one that I recognized, but apparently it was 2 of them. Yeah. Watch that documentary. That's a good experience. The film itself is not. All of that is just in service of nothing. I would rather have a film with that type of backstory where it's actually in service of something,
Yeah, for sure.
It reminded me so much of just like shitty, nonsensical movies my brother made when he was like 15 or something, where it's just like there's nothing really going on here. You're just kind of dicking around, and that's essentially what his movie was. It's like a kill count movie almost. Where it's just like, how many gores can we have? How many deaths can we have?
Yeah,
but like,
it feels like he's experimenting and just figuring
exactly.
out
As a movie, it's not great. As a historical artifact from a relevant, important director, then that's what it's good for. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah, I have to enjoy it within the realm of his whole filmography.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd just recommend to anyone like, oh, if you're a fan of horror, check out Bad Taste. I'd say if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings trilogy and Braindead and want to see where it came from.
If you're curious.
With any of your favorites. Yeah, if you're curious. And it is fun to see how it kind of, you know, he's obviously big into horror and he's directed a few horror movies, and we'll be talking about Braindead and just how the evolution of like, okay, when he's given like a proper script and a bit more money, and there is clearly like a creative mind behind this. And
Yeah.
I liked more about it than you did because I didn't feel that way about it. It was more of a case of it winning me and losing me, and like losing me for a long time, and then, oh, do something kind of unexpected or wacky and win me over, or say something funny, or just the timing of the editing of something was just tickling me in the right way, or someone just threw out a line in a way that worked for me. I did enjoy it more than you for that stuff, but yeah, it was a bit too long too for what it is, I think.
Yeah. There are things I liked about it.
Yeah. The whole like alien invasion side, like for the first, I guess, act was almost confusing me because like all the people are just like
dudes.
all the aliens are just people like doing kind of like the zombie thing, but they're aliens, I guess.
Yeah.
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 It's just a bit visually muddled.
If you didn't have like a couple lines, it would just be like, why are all these people fighting?
Yeah, I guess it was supposed to be like an invasion of the body snatchers type / zombie thing almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just looks like cheap costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was really irritating and it never stopped.
Yeah, that was one of the things that did actually irritate me, was that the music was way
Very
too
loud.
much. It was like give me a bit of a headache hearing some of the stuff from that like.
It is a headache
synth.
movie.
Well, how long did it take for you to figure out like, nah, this is not for me? Like, was it pretty
Okay,
quick?
well, I started checking the time at around like I watched like the first 40 minutes and I started checking the time, and then I realized that the 40 minutes was actually 20 minutes. And I was like, oh God.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's not a very good sign.
I thought I was watching for 40 minutes, but it was 20, and I was like, no. And then it was a pretty double ratio. At 30 minutes, it felt like an hour, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna watch this shit really passively. Like, I'm not even gonna like give my brain to this movie. I'm just gonna kind of lay here and think about other things while I'm obligated to finish the rest. If it wasn't for the podcast, I would have shut it off. Honestly,
Yeah,
it was just so boring to me. It wasn't offering anything at all. There was like maybe like one or two shots where I'm like, oh, cool, this kind of separates it from some 15-year-old running around, you know? But like that's about it. And that's a really low bar for like what a movie is. It's not really a movie. Yeah, I absolutely hated it. I liked the ending.
Yeah, it does improve once the proper like aliens come out, like what you see on the poster, because that's another thing too, because I'd always seen this poster and I'd been intrigued by reading the little blurb saying that, yeah, it's a small town disappears and is replaced by aliens that chase human flesh for their intergalactic fast food chain. Sounds
the
a bit
blurb
more
should
in
just
line
be
with like what Braindead.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson's first experimental,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
world of
Special
gore,
effects
you know,
montage. Early
Yeah.
special effects.
Yeah, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? It's just something
Yeah.
like that.
What
with
did
a
you
little
think
bit
of the gore, though?
Comical. Yeah, the gore is fun.
Some of it was like fun, but it was never like mind blowing or anything. It was like, yep, like matter of fact sort of thing. Learning about it after the fact and watching him explain how certain things were done in that documentary, which I would recommend, and it's on YouTube right now, so check it out. That was fun. Like that was the good part about the special effects, was learning about it through the documentary, not watching it in the film. In the film, it wasn't in service of anything.
Were there any particular moments in that documentary about the gore?
Oh yeah, I mean, like just the fact
curious.
that he, not necessarily about the gore, but like he would basically, they were making these like dollies and like cranes out of like pieces of wood which is awesome. But then you watch the movie and you can like barely tell that they're like dolly or crane shots for the most part. And then, you know, in the special effects documentary, he's like, yeah, I made a mallet and it's made out of styrofoam, so you can really whack someone on the head as hard as you want. And then it shows a clip from the movie and there's a cut where that happens anyway. I'm like, oh, that was really cool to learn this in the special effects documentary, but it doesn't translate in the film. Like in the film, you never see like a full hit with the mallet. It just like there's an awkward cut anyway. So it's like, oh, why does that matter? Right? Like the documentary behind the scenes is much better. Yeah, he was talking about how he made like a plaster mold of his own face, and you know, there's like interviews with his parents.
Scene, yeah.
He was talking about the type of camera he used. He's like, yeah, you just wind it up like this, and then he got about 30 seconds, and then, you know, I think it was like an 8mm or something. I don't remember. But it was like just seeing what the camera looked like and how like super lightweight it was. I was like, oh, okay, that's why you have so much like energy and movement with a lot of the filmmaking you do. So like I want to watch something like this and be purely entertained through the special effects, but have it be in service of an actual film, which is what the next movie we're going to talk about, and I won't say much about it right now, but that's what that next movie is, where I'm like, oh, that's impressive, that's impressive, but there's an actual movie there still, and it's not like I'm just watching some like show reel if somebody's like, oh, here's my montage, hire me, or basically, or something. And even so, like, it's not, in this first film, Bad Taste, nothing's super impressive until we get to the rocket being fired, or like the miniatures of the house like floating, or even I get like you could even say the alien costumes, like those are impressive, but like fuck, for the first, I don't know how long of the movie because my sense of time is warped watching this, but like I don't know, for the first half of the movie, at least first 2/3 of the movie, it's really just like, oh, you're doing some like really basic stuff here, and it's cool that you had a low budget, I guess, but like a lot of what was happening in the beginning of the film was not really like impressive, honestly.
I enjoyed the fight with himself.
Yeah, that was fun.
When he's like hanging the body off the cliff, and
yeah, and again, I didn't.
Have his moments in terms of that stuff.
I didn't realize that he was playing both of those characters until the featurette. It's like the movie on its own. I actually noted it down crazy, but then
I kept noticing Peter Jackson in the movie, but I swear he was playing more than like two characters. I swear I saw him.
Yeah,
countless times being like
he played two major characters at least.
Right, yeah. But I can't get too mad at it considering the context is the only thing. I guess that's where we differ mostly on it. Because I do find it more charming and cute than annoying, even though, yeah, the gore and the comedy's kind of it's not really got any point to it, really, aside from just trying to make you laugh. Yeah, it's just fun. It's trying to entertain. Like,
yeah, I wish I had fun.
I did enjoy like that as much as that character of Derek, who was kind of the main guy, I guess. He was irritating me for the first section, but he has that running gag of like his brain like coming out of his head.
That was fun. I liked that a lot.
Putting his brain in it, that made it worth it to me. I liked that whole thing.
There's a very short part of the film, though. That wasn't like the experience.
But the way it all builds to him, like he's the one that kills the like main alien invader guy, and it's pretty fun. That's a fun sequence where he like chainsaws through him.
Yeah, not gonna deny I enjoyed the ending. Got better as it went, but fuck, like top 10 movies to fall asleep to for me. I don't know. Like, it's just so boring. I wasn't getting anything out of it, really. Please watch the special features doc.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely watch that. Actually, that sounds up my alley. I was half tempted to recommend. It would have been maybe overkill to do
Feebles?
3, but Feebles. But I wasn't sure if that was more on the horror side as much as Bad Taste and Braindead are.
Apparently, it's got gore in it.
Kind of stick with Halloween thing.
Okay, I figured it's
more
like
this is a
comedy.
good Halloween movie.
Yeah, Feebles is impossible to find in anything other than DVD quality. And there was I haven't seen it yet, but there was an interview that Peter Jackson did like 3 years ago where he said he would be releasing Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, and Braindead, Dead Alive in like a 4K Blu-ray collection or something. And then like just nothing's happened about that yet. I don't know what's going on, but that would be awesome. I would buy all those on 4K, even fucking Bad Taste, even though I hate it. Just, as long as that same special feature is on the disc, then it's worth the price for me. Especially, I mean, if it's in a collection, then it's like, yeah, I want Braindead, and I haven't seen Feebles yet, but
yeah, I especially don't know how it would hold up in 4K, because the versions I had to watch were on, I guess, Amazon Prime or something, and the quality wasn't the greatest. I don't think it was HD.
I ordered the Blu-ray, and it showed up here in time. It's Spanish, so it says Mal Gusto on the front, but it's region free and it has English audio and subtitles. So
but is that the only way to get it in a
Blu-ray
in that quality?
Yeah,
from Spain. What's the deal, man?
I don't know. I think it's
you want to buy these things?
Rights and licensing.
I watched
thing.
both of these on YouTube. They're both on YouTube, so
That's illegal.
all right.
Buy a Spanish Blu-ray.
Do we have ratings? Is that where? So do we have anything else to say about this?
Yeah, I think that's most of it. To be honest, it's just kind of
Yeah,
formless
it's just
and
like-
experimental.
It's like a goofy horror movie with a ton of blood and effects.
Experimental's a weird way to put it.
Okay, let me rephrase it. I guess he's experimenting in how to make a horror gore fest with
Sure.
aliens in it.
Okay.
And figuring out that whole process.
Yeah. It's
I
very
think that shows.
complicated. Yeah, like effects wise. It's a lot of effects like that you need to do. A lot of costumes you need to make, and like the house effects. I thought that was probably the best part. The house effects were cool.
Yeah.
Like blowing it up.
There were 3
Yeah.
models they made of the house. There was one that was 5 meters long for the rocket, which they basically had on a fishing line.
Yeah, that part looked cool when it flew up in the air. That looked
Yeah, I
great.
love that.
Yeah.
When it was in space, that looked terrible.
No,
But
the space one looked awesome.
I like the space one.
That was really fun. That what with Saturn in the back.
The Saturn didn't look great, but the
that
house looked great.
That was really
The house-
dated.
it was fucking
But like
awesome.
the shot of it flying in the air, that looked great. Like
Yeah.
with the sky behind it, that looked really good.
Yeah, there's some really cool shit going on. He's a special effects master.
Right, that's the Lord of the Rings influence. Like you see that part. Like, oh, this is very complicated filmmaking. It's not like a drama. Like that's not really his forte.
This screened at the 1988 Cannes Film Festival.
That's
Didn't
funny.
win any
Like it's
awards
just so
though, I
weird
don't
that
think.
this
That's
one-
where it became a hit, basically, is like, somebody bought it and then it got shown in like 11 different countries.
yeah, and a
or
bunch
whatever.
of pretentious French people liked it.
I guess.
Oh, it's brilliant. Even though it's just like a bunch of gore.
Yeah.
It's like the dumbest thing. There might not have been a lot of movies from like New Zealand at that time.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
guessing.
It was a
But they're just like
affirmative
anything
action.
from New Zealand, right? They're like, oh, this guy's a genius. He could make Lord of the Rings, and then it turned out to work out.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, he could. I mean, it's a lot of effects and shit like that. He's good at that. He's good at like shot composition, like the shots in New Zealand. Like it's kind of the same kind of shots, like them walking through New Zealand and you see the hills in the back, like the same kind of shit in Lord of the Rings, except obviously much more complicated.
Hmm.
Yeah, without like helicopters and stuff to help you.
Yeah, they had helicopters. Yeah, so it made it a little more awesome.
2 out of 10.
Yeah, again, like 2.5 no 3 out of 5. I think it's fine. I'd recommend
Yeah.
this.
I'm with you on that
Yeah.
rating with a 3 star.
Yeah, 3.
I like
Okay.
it. I think it's cute. I do definitely acknowledge that it has its flaws, and I don't blame you for the way you feel on it, Adam, to
Yeah.
be real.
I think Dead Alive is better. I think Dead Alive's a lot better
Unbearable.
at like what this one's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like a movie. Speaking of Dead Alive, Braindead. Another recommendation from Alex.
So wait, so do you guys know it as Dead Alive or Braindead? Let's
I know
start
it is
there.
both.
You've always known it as both.
More heard Dead Alive, definitely. I've heard Dead Alive more.
So what's the breakdown on that? The way I understand it is what? It's the American name is Dead
no,
Alive?
the original title was Braindead, and then
Yeah.
there was another property called Braindead that was around the same time, and then they thought they didn't want to
Yeah.
get sued, so they changed it to Dead Alive for other releases. I think it was
Is that
based
just
on
in
country.
certain regions? Or it's very
I think
confusing.
so, but yeah, when I put in my Blu-ray at the beginning of the movie, I think it says Dead Alive and then Braindead underneath. So I think it's like actually says both.
Okay. Because I think I've always known it as Braindead. But yeah, this is the 1992, not follow-up, but continuation in terms of horror, zombies, and all that craziness from Peter Jackson. This time, though, with a bit more going on writing-wise, with Fran Walsh coming in, who she stuck with him for, I think, most of his films, including like the Hobbit movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, working closely with him on the screenplay, and Stephen Sinclair is credited for the story too. And it's about a young man who's kind of, and his overbearing mother, who they go to the zoo one day and wound up getting bitten by a creature that comes from Skull Island. It's a nice little reference.
Yeah, when it started with Skull Island, that made me laugh. Like that was really funny.
He directed
this is already setting up. It's already setting up the King Kong stuff he's gonna make. Like,
it was basically the same scene.
That was really funny. Yeah, I just love the Skull Island crossover. I'm like, how the fuck does Skull Island tie into this film? Anyway, continue, Alex. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's the actual beginning. Is it does start straight up on
shared
Skull
universe
Island with the. It's the true first entry of that universe, but yeah, where they establish this weird stop motion monkey zombie thing, which is like the MacGuffin thing that comes back to New Zealand and is put in the zoo and gets the whole zombie infestation going. And again, kind of like Bad Taste, the emphasis is on the comedy horror here again, but way more effective and way more ambitious too, with the gore especially. I feel like seeing this movie at a young age and seeing that level of gore like set a standard that I don't know if it's ever really been reached quite that same level for me. Maybe like the Evil Dead movies go that kind of
not even
embrace that gore, but it's not the same. Yeah, you're right, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And just that New Zealand tinge to it and the comedy that comes out with this kind of, I really enjoy the main character played by Timothy Balm. He gets this really physical unusual performance where he's this like coddled child, this like he like falls for this like Spanish girl, but he like keeps rejecting her because of this toxic relationship with his mother, and it's all about the comedy that comes as a result of that relationship, and just where it goes towards the end is like so funny and satisfying. I always forget like just how much it ramps up. There's such an escalation to the way the movie goes and the horror of it, and especially the gore. The gore is the big takeaway for me with this movie. I mean, you're not like going in for deep characters that you're feeling for as the taken out. It's just about that comedy and that gore.
Yeah, it's great. The story's much more interesting though than like the last one we saw. Like the relationship with his mother, like the controlling mother, that makes it right off the bat much more of an engaging film than like that last movie.
The fact that he's trying to hide a zombie apocalypse is really funny. It's like,
like no one believes him,
and down over
probably
here.
No one would believe him, because it's just like ridiculous. And like him hiding the mother's body, and like it keeps coming back to life. He keeps like tranquilizing it. There's a lot more going on.
It's very cartoony, but in a really effective way. Like that whole dinner scene, it's like so absurd. I think there are multiple dinner scenes.
Yeah. The character stuff just isn't boring. It's either grossing you out with like the ear falling in the soup or the pudding or whatever. And then, it's just, at least it's funny and engaging. It's not like boring character development up until the very end where there's just like gore. Like, in like Malignant, it was kind of dull up until the end. And this was at least engaging me with the comedy and like the look of it was very funny.
And it's not even like free of gore until the end. It's not like there's no gore until the end. It's like there's gore throughout.
There's a good build up though. Like at the end it gets nuts. But like
insane.
The stuff with the baby, like him beating up the baby on the playground is funny.
That might be my least favorite
when his
scene.
mom starts falling apart.
All right. But
okay, let's talk about
it would
baby
find other
scene
things
then.
to do aside from just like the same or just like boring character scenes or not blowing its wad too soon with the gore.
So you're not mad about the baby, or was it just that scene in the park?
The baby's kind of annoying. I think for the most part in the film, it's fun to have, But in the park, I think it kind of pushes it a bit too far in terms of like maybe I shouldn't be using the word believability because this movie's not supposed to be like literal realistic, like, oh yeah, this could happen sort of thing. But when I'm talking about, I guess, like what I'm supposed to believe visually, a doll doesn't look like a baby when he's like got it when he's like punching it and like slamming it against the
Like shaking
swing
it
set or
around,
whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, man, like you're so great with special effects. Like you could have done stop motion. There's like a billion things you could have done, and it just really doesn't look great at all. Like at no moment am I like, haha, it's funny because in the film he's hitting a baby right now. I can't believe that. It's preventing me from believing that just because of
No.
how lazily it's shown in that moment, I guess. And it's
The
not
whole
like
movie
throughout
is
the whole
so
part.
over the top. The whole
I
film,
know.
Like,
But I'm just saying that like it's the difference. It's like if instead of the lawnmower scene being as well executed as it was, you just like cut away or something, right? Like I'm talking about the presentation, not necessarily the believability of the scene.
the Spanish girl, like the writing of her character was so like over the top too.
Yeah.
Like so many scenes with her.
Yeah.
Like when her blouse falls down like a little bit, like she's at the store and the guy's like, "Oh, let me pick that up for you" or whatever. It's like it's so creepy. I'm like, what the fuck? And then she like looks at him like, "Oh," like the writing of her character, it's like goofy. Like the whole thing is just fucking over the top and goofy. The controlling mother, it's just like funny. It's just dumb jokes and that to lead you into this gory shit at the end. The people who come to the house like and they have to party like this one fucking
Immediately.
asshole reminds me of Biff
Yeah.
like from Back to the Future.
Yeah,
It's
it's like evil,
great, yeah.
uncool, whatever.
And he becomes like the most disgusting fucking zombie like at the end. Like there's a lot of great jokes and it's just really funny, has a good comedic tone that like stays really consistent.
It's great.
Reminds me of like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it's a bit more raunchy than Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I'd say more raunchy.
Shaun of the Dead
And
takes the
absurdist.
characters like much more seriously in the drama than this does,
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is that movie's spin on it. That you actually like Shaun. It's like one of the few movies, one of these dumb zombie movies where you actually like the characters in the movie.
There are parts
but
of
this is
Shaun
like,
of the Dead where
not
you
that I
can't
don't
take
like
it
these
seriously.
characters. Like the main character, this is so ridiculous. Like him beating up the baby on the playground. Like this is a ton of shit. Like the relationship with his mother is like the worst thing. Like so over the top. I mean, yeah, it's a different kind of film.
I do like at the end of the baby playground scene that random shot of the homeless man cheering him on. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that's great.
It's just about making you laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about like, it doesn't really matter how consistent the characters are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like
or if it's like the most, empowering thing in the world. It doesn't really matter.
like the whole priest guy who like he's like a ninja. He like ninja kicks like a bunch
he
of
like
zombies
saves the
and
day.
stuff. It's like hilarious. I kick ass for the Lord. Yeah, that's burned into my brain. That line.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think old ladies will be offended at like the portrayal of the mother character. She's like so cartoonish, like so evil.
It is really funny conceptually.
Yeah,
For the
it
idea
is
of a
really
zombie
funny.
apocalypse where it's like, oh, patient zero is his annoying mother.
Yeah,
and then you just
exactly.
like don't really feel too bad about some of the things that happen at the beginning of the movie. And it's just it's really comical because it's like, oh, but I can't do that to my mother, so I have to keep her alive and hide the zombie apocalypse from everybody. And just like watching other people slowly get roped into it and they become zombies and he has like 4 of them in the basement. He's using tranquilizer, accidentally feeds them like a growth hormone instead of poison or something. Just like, oops. It's very silly. I love it.
Yeah, it's just so gross. Like the effects on them in the basement are like disgusting.
Yeah.
It looks great, I thought. Like the effects are really good in this movie.
They're
It makes
great.
it much more of an effective movie than the last one.
Like this is at its core really a special effects film.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even like the slow deterioration of the mother character.
Oh,
like
it's so
she
good.
slowly gets more and more decomposed.
It's actually really gross. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, effectively gross.
Or like her eyes popping out of her head and then they like stick them back in the corner.
Yeah,
Like,
pulling out,
it's like a ton of things. It's like, oh, that's fucking gross and creative. Like,
Gluing
they
her
actually had to
skin
build a
back on.
prop. Yeah, the skin. Yeah, even early on when her skin's peeling off, like, it's good. Like slow degeneration of her like skin and like. All
I
that
would be
stuff.
comfortable calling this the goriest movie ever made. I would have to be shown
It's up
something
there.
else.
Yeah, it's gorier than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which wasn't really that bloody or gory at all.
Yeah, way gorier, actually.
Yeah, Like the more gore
It's
you
gorier
have, it's
than
actually
any of
more
the Evil Dead
comedic.
films.
Yeah, if the Evil Dead films are not that, they are really bloody, but I'd say this is more bloody than. It's probably the bloodiest movie I've ever seen. This and like the Collector or the Collection, and then like the Friday the 13th Part 7 like uncut version.
Mm.
Like I don't know, I can't think of anything more bloody than this. Like the end when he has like the what the fuck is that? Like a
Lawnmower, yeah.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
the best.
That's like out of
the
like a
highlight of
Dead
the
Rising
movie.
video game. That's like a video
all
game
leading to that.
moment.
What an ending sequence, man.
Yeah.
It's
He
actually
plows through
it's
them
epic.
twice.
That whole ending sequence is straight up epic.
It is pretty cool.
I think it's absolutely insane just how effective the lawnmower scene is in terms of like communicating what's happening visually.
Yeah.
When he's
it's really
doing
good
it,
editing
like,
too.
yeah,
There's a lot of great cuts to like the
it's-
hands
it's
flying
how it's
around.
structured and how it's thought out. Like it's very, very, very intricately planned out, which is insane because
They
you
probably
you know,
spend a lot of time on it too.
when you think
like,
about like
editing
this
it.
film as a genre, there's almost some sort of I guess stereotype that it's like really juvenile, right? But like this is a really professionally made film. Like it is
Yeah.
juvenile in tone, perhaps, and maybe like in experience in some way. But what's going into it is a lot of talent and a lot of maturity when it comes to the filmmaking. Like I couldn't imagine any other director doing that approach of like, okay, we're gonna have this scene where he has the bottom of a lawnmower and he's just like kind of forcing his way through these zombies and have it pulled off that well in a practical sense. It's absolutely insane that it looks effective, and that's exactly what I'm talking about when I see the dumb baby doll that he's smashing against the, it's like,
Yeah, it's not the same caliber.
yeah, it would be, I want to, it's not about how realistic is this concept, it's about like how are you pulling it off, right? So
Yeah. No, because I do agree about that baby scene earlier on. I like the whole inclusion of the baby and how it's like from that weird dinner scene earlier and
pregnant zombie.
yeah, where it goes. But yeah, it does go
it's weird.
just a bit too long in that playground scene. Because I was reading, apparently it's that whole sequence is Peter Jackson's favorite in the whole movie. 'Cause
Of
they
course.
finished. they
that's
finished
what I
like
heard.
before schedule with a bit of money over, so they had some extra time to work on that.
That's
So that's
funny.
the scene they did, yeah, which is funny.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
why
fun.
not?
I mean, I thought it was fun.
It is something you could like remove from the movie and the film. Like it's not like it includes any important plot or anything. It's
Yeah, I do like the moment in that scene though where he kind of loses control of the buggy. And
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
like,
That's
sprinting
fun.
down the hill after it. And that's what I mean by this physical performance he gives. He's a funny
Yeah,
guy.
that
He's
was
like
awesome. Yeah.
Mr. Bean
physical, comedic Mr. Bean guy with that voice as
Kinda.
well. It's just
Yeah.
humor galore. And the variety from the interpretation of zombies that come from like this universe.
true.
It's really fun. Like you do have that little baby thing. You've got the weird like guts monster thing.
Oh yeah,
You got the big the big mother at the end.
great.
It's really
practical
fun in how it
effects
escalates with that stuff. Yeah, and all the different like techniques. You got stop motion. You got like reverse photography. You got
there. Force
all
perspective.
sorts of puppetry. Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
much fun for that kind of stuff if you enjoy that level of like gore and that kind of horror fun. 'Cause
Mhm.
you can't really get better than this movie in terms of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same techniques he wound up using in Lord of the Rings. The
Yeah.
force perspective
Yeah.
to make something seem a lot bigger than it is. It's just like wow. Like there are elements sprinkled in here that are just in Lord of the Rings too. But I completely agree with you about the different types of zombies, and even just the human ones. The way that they get initially mauled kind of becomes like a part of their character. So the nurse with her
Yeah.
head like a Pez dispenser, that like
That's
it
really
doesn't just
funny.
end there. It's not like, oh, she's dead or whatever. She comes back so many times, and each time there's like a different gag associated with that wound where she's like, oh, she's trying to eat and it's just pouring out of her neck. Like there's just so much that they actually do with that, and it's like, oh, she's more of a character than she was before she became a zombie.
Yeah,
right?
and it makes the comedy funnier too. It's not just doesn't feel just like one-off gags. It feels like we actually thought about how this is like building up and joining to each other.
Yeah,
it's really
super
satisfying.
fun and clever, and fuck the like the one whose like head gets cut off at like the jawline. There's the woman who woman zombie whose head gets pushed in backwards into a light bulb. And that looked really cool. And her
That's a great
eyes
visual.
and mouth are glowing. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, but I love the result, right?
Yeah, it looks too cool to deny.
Yeah, like that's just fun. Fuck. Yeah, there's so much of it that just looks so cool. Yeah, those guts were really weird. It's like they become a character. He like looked at him. The guts looked at itself in the mirror at the end of that scene. Oh yeah, there was the toilet part.
That's
like,
a really fun.
Oh yeah, the blender. Man, so many cool things you could do.
Yeah, that whole like Victorian house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so great with the whole party thing and just the density of people and blood.
throwing some
like,
bodies
it's
in
so
here.
much guts and blood. Like, it must have been a real pain in the ass to work in that environment. Like, imagine like redoing a shot, like after, you know, like spraying guts everywhere and covering the actors with it, and like, okay, let's do that again. Like, it must have been
Take two.
arduous, you know.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I love the like punk greaser zombie that stabs himself through the back of the head with a spoon because he was told to use cutlery at the dinner at the breakfast scene. So funny. So much more personality in this film than Bad Taste. Really has a tone.
Well, it just has way more structure and form.
Yeah, the effects are much better.
Mhm.
Yeah, the gore, the comedy's much better.
Yeah.
All these things. Yeah.
I noticed the same gun prop from Bad Taste at the beginning of the film when they were on Skull Island also.
That's funny. Maybe that's like a reference. It's still a goofy, dumb horror movie. It's like really over the top.
Oh
but
yeah.
It's that doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's, you know, it is what it is. It's effective for what it is. Especially for like first time filmmaker. They say like for first time filmmakers, it's not wrong to make a film like this. That's like just really over the top and stupid. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like your first film doesn't have to be Citizen Kane, you know, because then like this guy went on to make Lord of the Rings. Like it doesn't really matter. You got to show some kind of talent in like some way. And here he showed like talent in like those visual scenes, like the effects scenes and like the cinematography. Like, and that's why he went on to do great things like after this movie. You know?
Yeah.
It's a truly like unique film. Like, you're not going to see this anywhere else. Like, this had to come from Peter Jackson.
No.
And this came out in 92, and there's still nothing that really matches it, as we were saying, in terms of these practical effects, this gore stuff. It's unrivaled.
When I think of the catalog of zombie films as a genre, this never comes to mind because it's its own thing. It's like its own. I don't think of this as like a zombie film. It's not in a genre or anything. To me, it's just this is its own movie. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just always been Braindead.
Yeah. It's its own genre. How did the mother drown 2 people in a bathtub? I didn't really show that.
Maybe she was that mega zombie thing at the end.
Well, I mean, it was like the reveal at the end where he's like, "You lied."
Yeah.
And then it showed a flashback of her drowning her husband. I'm like, but she drowned 2 people. Yeah,
it's his whole backstory, isn't it? Because he's like got his trauma because he thinks his dad died in the ocean. It was actually his overbearing mother who took him out the whole time, and his lover.
Yeah, it is funny that just at the end they're like, "You were bad even before you were a zombie. So you deserve all of this." And then just the visual of him being like reverse birthed into the womb is like fucking insane. Like, open wide. You'll always be my special boy. Whatever.
Oh yeah. There's actually a birth thing in Bad Taste, isn't there? There was laugh in Bad Taste. I've been reborn or some weird shit. He says.
Yeah.
I'm born again. Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah, the pendant was a little dumb. Just like were you going to call it a MacGuffin?
Yeah.
That was weird.
The whole Destiny thing with the cards and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that was at least a little funny because it was like influencing their relationship in a way. That's like the only reason they're dating.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by death. Like, I think from a comedy standpoint, that serves its purpose. But then, yeah, like the whole like, oh, I gotta use this pendant, or I don't even know what to call it, this necklace symbol thing. Well, it's just the magic. I can save the day with it. I don't know. It's magic rules.
Yeah, I never know where to draw the line with movies that have a tone like this, where it's like purposefully illogical.
Yeah, exactly. It is like
Yeah.
just kind of a bit of a trope. Evil Dead does the same thing in the first
Yeah,
movie.
it's definitely
my
playing with
girlfriend's
tropes, for
necklace.
sure.
Yeah, it's just hard to take it seriously at all. Like, even Evil Dead 2, it's like impossible to take seriously. Even Army of Darkness, like that movie's just like there's the point in the like I think halfway through that's just slapstick. It just becomes like complete slapstick.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness.
It's the funny part about that trilogy is that it's all in the same trilogy, and it gets slowly goofier over time.
Evil Dead 1 is like the most realistic one, probably, if you were going to say that we use the word realism.
It's a straighter
I guess
tone.
you watch it like you watch Airplane or like something like that. It's just a bunch of jokes.
Yeah.
Spaceballs.
The score is so much better in this than Bad Taste. So refreshing. It's actual music.
Yeah.
An actual composer with songs that, I can think of one right now. There's there's memorable key moments associated with music in this film. It actually complements the film. It's really effective. Not annoying for the most part.
There was something I actually wanted to bring up that I just think's interesting if we're talking about Peter Jackson and his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where I saw it, but it was like trending or something. A quote from Peter Jackson on the Hobbit audio commentary saying that he was frustrated with the appearance of the orcs in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Because in Jackson's opinion, CGI is better than makeup and prosthetics in showing how orcs are creatures without any human aspect, which I just think is fascinating, considering just the absolute commitment to the visual side of this movie and the practical effects in the movie and how effective it is in this movie, and to go and to just shift over time is so interesting to me.
It's a complete CGI. Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
it's
Hobbit,
like the technology
orcs are
side of it.
CGI. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good, and you made them humanoid CGI anyway, so what's the point in what you just said?
Yeah, they look human anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I was. They're like the same thing, basically. They're a little bigger.
You CGI'd over a
but
person
like, imagine
instead of
if he made
over.
like if he made this movie now, like he'd probably use CGI blood, all the same shit that like I hate.
Who knows?
Like
maybe he's had like a bit of self-reflection.
The practical effects are great. Who knows? After the Lovely
possible.
Bones.
I don't know.
I like this more than the Lovely Bones, if that counts for anything. I probably like this more than the Hobbit movies. It's
me
one
too.
of the best things Peter Jackson's made.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's good.
Check out more
I think it's a good movie.
filmography,
I think this
honestly.
is really good work. I think this is probably one of the best horror movies out there.
It's a
really
classic
great.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has always been a classic for me.
If someone hasn't seen it, I'm showing it to them.
You see you see the dawning talent like in this guy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing the like little sparks of like, I recognize like that,
like Helm's Deep and like all that.
Yeah.
There are very few locations on this film. They go back to the store a bunch, and most of it's in the house. But you really get a feel for the environment, which was not the case in Bad Taste, and is not the case in so many films.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case.
It's a lot in the house.
Venom
it's
2
in the house
either,
a lot, but there's like a lot of variety in the locations. And like he goes to the basement, and like the house is so big, and there's so many different rooms in it.
And they keep lighting it differently, and
it keeps changing.
Always looks different.
Yeah. By the end of it, it looks completely different. Yeah.
Regardless of variety, I love films where if they're going to be in a consistent location, I like watching something and feeling like if I were there right now, I would know which room is which. I would be able to like go in and just be like, oh, this room, which is why they were able to, at certain points in the film, they would just show the basement door without showing what's behind it. It just looks like a door, but because the film is effective in how it communicates location and how it communicates the environment, it's like, oh, that's what that is right there. Right next to the stairs, there's the door to the basement. A bit to the left, there's the kitchen. There's continuity to it, and the way it's shot and presented just really helps give you a feel for the location. It would be so much worse if you were confused about that. It would be so much worse if you didn't really get a good sense of the environment. So I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, it would injure everything.
One guy got gnomed.
Don't remind me of Gnome.
Yeah. So many there's a lot of movies that have like tried to copy this in terms of like, okay, we're building to a thing and then just like everybody's gonna die in like really weird ways or whatever. Like Lloyd Kaufman's Poultrygeist, which is, I mean, a lot of fun for me. You can tell that there's definitely some inspiration from Braindead. I don't know if Braindead ripped off something else in this sense. I don't know if it's the first to really do this whole grandiose bloodbath in the way that it presents itself, at least. But I love it.
Poultrygeist is much worse than this. Like the effects are much worse. Yeah. There's actually some artistry to these effects and like this. Yeah, that movie's like a total B movie. Poultrygeist.
No,
it's funny. It's funny, yeah, definitely. It's almost unwatchable for some people. Like this is
of course.
This is much more watchable. This is much more viewable.
Unless you're squeamish.
Do you think it's that bad? Like in terms of there's a couple gross outs that get me.
Yeah,
like
the gross outs,
the custard and stuff. But it genuinely gets so
I wasn't feeling too well either. I had like a headache. And I seen that scene. I'm like, oh god.
There's some people that can't handle gore. They'll get like sick.
True.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I don't know. I just I find there's such a disconnect when it gets just so over the top. It's so cartoonish that I just stop even.
It's a ton of blood.
Connecting it as like real. Yeah, I was reading the like British censors or whatever wanted to give it a 15 instead of an 18 because of that fact. Whether it's just like it's just so silly. Like it's not gore in the same way. It's like comedy gore, and it's not like showing gore for the opposite effect. It does mean something different to me, but I think it's still got an 18 rating in the end. It's the 90s, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it was banned in a few countries, actually.
Yeah, I noticed it was hard to find. I was thinking maybe it's because of that gore, but I mean, really, yeah, it's in a comedic context. And it's creative. It's actually art.
Imagine banning this movie.
Like, it's much classier than Poultrygeist or something like that. That's a good comparison. This is actually like a real film.
It was banned in South Korea, Singapore, and Finland. Probably more places.
And I think there's like a gore edited out like version for Germany or something. Like
oh yeah, like Germany always gets
out there with all the gore taken out.
Special baby versions.
Like what would be the point of this movie without the gore? Like an like gore-free version.
What's really funny is one of the things with Evil Dead, the reason why some of the scenes with blood is like, oh, why is the blood black, or why is it milk or whatever? It's like they were thinking like, oh yeah, because if you have like if it's not red blood, then that'll be easier to not get banned. Like you can
to get past the
not get an X rating or whatever it was.
You can't have too much blood.
That's so funny.
Yeah, you can have blood, just not too much.
Trying to think of a gorier movie. Certainly, if a gorier movie exists, then it's not going to be like as entertaining.
Yeah, because when I think like violence and like gore like that, Martyrs flashes in my head, but it's not the same. It's different.
Yeah,
it's like a different type.
Yeah, that's
violence.
Not bloodier than this. It's not as much blood in that movie.
No.
Yeah, is this some gross shit? Yeah, you want to like if you want to go really like obscure, then sure. But there's not many like mainstream big movies with this much blood.
Yeah. Fucking re-release this shit already. My
please.
Blu-ray, it's out of print, and it's another Spanish one. It's another Spain. Yeah, it's so impossible to find this movie. Fuck. Bring it back, Peter. Peter!
Well, yeah, he did that really good World War One restoration documentary.
That was good.
Exactly.
Braindead.
I like that.
We shall not grow old.
Braindead in color.
Yeah, that's a different type of horror.
Movie. Okay, let's see. For the film's cinematic scene wherein Lionel massacres a horde of zombies with a lawnmower, a reputed 300 liters, 79.2 gallons, of fake blood was used. This is just from Wikipedia.
Oh my god.
But that's pretty cool. It's a lot. You're just making soup. A whole house.
Human soup, yeah.
Oh, there was a lawsuit. It alleged that Braindead had infringed the privacy of the plaintiffs by including pictures of the plaintiff's family tombstone. After reviewing the New Zealand judicial authorities on privacy, they stated the present situation in New Zealand is that there are 3 strong statements in the High Court in favor of existence of such a tort in this country, and an acceptance of the Court of Appeal that the concept is at least arguable. This case became one of a series of cases which contributed to the introduction of tort invasions of privacy in New Zealand. Interesting.
Was that from one of the graveyard scenes or something?
Apparently, yeah. Which is a silly thing to be upset about. Like, it's in public, right?
Yeah. I
Whatever.
guess you could just CG it out nowadays, but
I know, like the person's phone number in Squid Game.
yeah.
Some Korean man's getting a lot of phone calls. What do you want to give it out of 10?
I really enjoy this movie. I think for what it's going for, it pretty much nails it. Snappy, fun, funny. This is a 4-star for me. I'm happy to watch this whenever.
Bam. That's what I'd give it. 4-star out of 5. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's closer to an 8 than a 6. Lots of fun. Great, gory, funny movie for fun people. Thanks, Peter.
Fun is the word.
I almost
But it
called him
actually is
Percy
fun.
Jackson.
Oh,
Oh, no.
very
That's
good.
a different episode.
Yeah, a Percy Jackson film.
The next trilogy recommendation.
All right, question time.
All right, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. If you want to leave questions for us to answer in future episodes, head over to the suggestion thread on the subreddit. It should be there. Let's do this one to get us going then. From Extension Bar 6431. What's a movie you can't defend but you unironically love? Batman Returns for me. That was their one, not my one.
Batman Returns. It's a bad one.
Depends what you mean
That
by
movie.
defend.
Can't defend.
Because I can, when I think of defending a movie, I'm defending my perspective on the movie, right? Because if the question implied defending a movie beyond my own perspective, then that kind of implies that I would be defending, like, oh no, other people should like this sort of thing. But that's not really how I operate.
Unironically love. I guess Aquaman. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But I still watch it.
How often do you watch it? Is this like a common movie? Like it's one of your favorite
Every
movies?
couple weeks. Nah.
Oh my god.
No,
Part of
I
my
wish it
daily
was every
routine.
couple weeks. Yeah. I haven't seen it for a while, but
They might not like Black Hawk Down, that movie, because it's like a military propaganda movie, but I love that movie. I think it's great. This is like a great action movie. Like the action, it's fucking incredible. You know, like the shooting and whatever. It's really like the best like military movie just in terms of the action. Like that and Saving Private Ryan. It's a Ridley Scott movie too. People have like, it's just people like hate those kind of movies because they're like, oh, it's just like a propaganda movie or whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's like the military's in it. Obviously, they have to like use military equipment in it. Like they get like real helicopters and shit. So it has to be like somewhat of an advertisement for the military, but it's like a really good action movie. Like if they didn't have like real Black Hawks in it, like it would not be the same thing at all. It would suck.
Yeah, I remember enjoying Black Hawk Down. It's been a while.
Isn't there some like weird thing in America where like in order to show certain things, like the Pentagon has to sign off on some things or some shit?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, if you're working with the government or with the military, they'll give you stuff to make the movie, but it has to have like a pro. You know, you can't make like a
pro freedom.
You can't
stance.
you probably can't make like Apocalypse Now. You can't make like Apocalypse Now with like the help of like the government.
Yeah.
You know, that they use like different kind of helicopters. I think they borrowed them from like people they were filming in that location wherever it was. You know.
Yeah.
It's just different kind of movie, but I mean, Black Hawk Down's great. I think it's great.
I haven't seen it since I was very young, so I'd be interested in checking it out.
Yeah, it's been a while for me.
People would probably at least like it, but yeah, it's just like an action movie. It's like a great Ridley Scott action movie, but people will probably shit on it.
This question kind of makes me think of a lot of stuff I watched like as a kid that I've revisited like as an adult and have changed my opinions slightly, but I'll always have that kind of nostalgic glee for, like The Phantom Menace. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna throw it out there.
He said
I can't
it.
defend
Look at
it. I've done it.
How about like Revenge of the Sith? Like that's more of a guilty pleasure for me.
See, The Phantom Menace is the one for me. That's the one I watch, and I like watch the commentary track, and I just find it so fascinating. There's just something about it, man.
I love the
It's like-
behind-the-scenes documentary about the Phantom Menace. That is great. That's like how you feel about the Dead Alive one, or the what's the other one? The first,
the Bad Taste
Peter
one.
Jackson, Bad
Yeah,
Taste.
yeah.
Like how you feel about that? Yeah, like George Lucas like trying to figure it all out. Like that is really funny.
Yeah.
I think Phantom Menace is a mess. I'd say like Revenge of the Sith is a better answer. I like the end of Phantom Menace, the sword fight or whatever, Darth Maul.
I've come around on the pod race too, I've got to admit.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pod race.
Now this is pod racing.
It is.
Maybe not that bit.
I feel like every movie would be better with that line in it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, Schindler's List.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like when she's getting away. Like now this is pod racing. Like any movie.
Yeah, The Pianist. I guess I'm just getting hung up on the phrasing of this question, so I'm just gonna name a guilty pleasure of mine because I think that's kind of what it's asking. Poultrygeist.
Yeah.
Done. It's very funny to me. It's very offensive.
I like it too.
It's like,
it is. It's super offensive.
It's really funny to me. But that's Lloyd Kaufman.
I haven't
you know?
seen this one. What do you mean by offensive?
I mean,
Like, don't watch it on a date.
It's
Watch it on a date.
if Lloyd Kaufman were like more of a popular figure and he made this and released it in like current year, then it might be like cancel Lloyd Kaufman kind of event. It's name a group and it makes fun of it in kind of like a South Parky style, you know, where it's just like, yeah. Surely the guy is not actually hateful, but it is like, oh, you can't say that, you know. But it's really funny.
You're not supposed to take it seriously.
It's really funny. Right. It's like,
was it like early 2000s? Like
it's like 2006, I think. The perfect time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, when like Drawn Together was on the air.
It's like gratuitous, like nudity and like shit jokes.
Gory and dumb and
So
yeah,
edgy.
it's a musical also.
Sex jokes, yeah. It's like American Pie kind of, but like much more vulgar.
It's so stupid.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
I definitely enjoy it. I just would not watch that.
I got the
with
Blu-ray.
People like Braindead. Braindead's an excellent horror movie. It's like no. Oh, is that your dog?
Alex?
Sorry, yeah, he just went crazy for some reason.
That's okay.
He was agreeing with Ralph's statement.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Thank you. Sorry.
AV Center Staff Member 2 has this to say. After movies like Capone and the Venom franchise, I feel as if Tom Hardy as an actor is starting to fall off a bit. Before, he was considered to be in the upper echelon of actors who was able to choose any role he wanted to, and because of that, he had an insane stretch of great performances in good to great films. So what do you guys think? Is Tom Hardy losing his stride, or am I just overreacting based on a few lackluster performances in lackluster films?
What are the examples of good ones?
He's in a lot of good movies.
He was like
And,
in
like,
The
big
Revenant.
movies.
He was in
Bane,
Yeah,
and
The Revenant.
Dark Knight Rises,
Locke.
Legend.
Let's look at his filmography.
I think it's a bit of an overreaction, like if I had to say. I think there's like peaks and valleys in an actor's
Inception.
career. There's like points they're not doing as much. Yeah, he was in like a lot of Chris Nolan movies, Dunkirk, you know.
Yeah.
I think
in
Venom's
a
a
few
good
TV
role for him.
shows as
Like
well,
he's
isn't he?
obviously making a shit ton of money
Bronson.
doing Venom.
He was in Bronson.
Mad Max?
Bronson's great, but you know, that's like an
Bronson,
indie
Mad
film.
Max.
I think he's
I don't
doing
know.
fine.
He's making money. I don't know. He's like starring in movies.
I think Venom's a good franchise for him. Like, I don't see why he needs to do anything else, you know? Like, what else
Yeah.
does he have to prove?
He's going to be in another Mad Max.
You know?
Busted, too.
There's an announced
He's
Mad Max.
a great
that he's gonna be
actor.
in. So
Yeah, I don't know what else he needs to do.
it's really not
Yeah.
like we're looking at a timeline that isn't like so defined. Really, this isn't over a long period
It's
of time,
so
and
short.
this isn't that
Yeah.
many movies to look at.
He's still a young actor,
Yeah.
too.
So like in the same
who
time
knows?
that he was doing The Dark Knight Rises, which I mean, not a great movie. In the same time where he was like supposedly doing just great movies like The Revenant and Mad Max, there's also Locke, which I fucking hated, and then there's also things on his IMDb that you click
Really? You
on, and it's
hated
like,
Locke?
who the fuck watched this shit? Like, okay, let's read this. The Drop? What was this? I don't know what The Drop is.
The Drop is alright. The
Okay,
Drop
The
is actually a
Child
really good
44.
movie.
This Means War is the bad
The
one.
Drop is a really good movie, and so
London
is what's the other one
Road.
you said,
Oh
Locke.
god, apparently I tried
Those are all
watching that
good.
one.
Legend's not so great, but like I think he's had a good
Lawless.
career. I don't. Lawless is pretty
Sounds
good.
like a Western.
Yeah, like I've seen all
I don't
those.
know. I'm
He
just
just
like,
had like yeah. I think those are solid movies.
yeah, they're just This Means War.
This Means War was the bad one.
That was shit.
Yeah,
That one
it
I'll
looks
give
like
you.
it.
That was fucking terrible. That was like a romantic comedy with like Chris Pine.
Yeah. It's like what,
Yeah.
three movies that are not good at the end of, you know? I don't
Chris
know.
Pine is like in Wonder Woman 1984. I say Tom Hardy's doing better than that.
Yeah,
Wonder
Tom
Woman
Hardy's going to be doing
1984.
fine. I'm not worried about him.
I'm not worried
Yeah,
about
he'll be
Chris
alright.
Pine either. I think Tom Hardy is going to be fine.
There was never a point
Yeah.
where I looked at Tom Hardy being in a movie and thought, that's a reason to see it. So nothing's going to change for me.
I never thought
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Hardy was like, oh, he's Marlon Brando. Like, he's the greatest actor. Like, I don't think he's quite proven. Like, Bronson's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
let,
Bronson's
let the
great.
guy have a long career, and like he'll probably have many more good movies.
Yeah.
Like the right script has to come along, and he has to like it. Like, there's not an exact science to it. You know, you probably thought Capone would be better than it was.
Yeah. Well, Adam, what do you hate about Locke? I'm curious.
It was a bullshit, boring movie where nothing happened.
Locke.
Yeah, it was like, here's
I remember liking it when it came out.
Bullshit boy.
no,
Yeah.
here's what really fucking got me about it was the soundtrack was fucking awful. That guitar score was just absolute cancer. It was like one of the
I
worst
don't even
scores,
remember.
and it was playing the entire movie. And then like, yeah, I guess I don't know, like. I guess this is just a part of the theme of the movie, but like literally everything was his fault, and I couldn't feel sympathy for him at any moment. And it was clear the film was trying to get me to feel like, oh no, I'd hope this doesn't bad thing happen to him. But literally everything that happens was his own fault, and the score sucked, and nothing happened, and it was really boring and stupid. And his performance wasn't
It's
amazing.
better than the
enough to, like-
director's. It's better than that director's next movie, which was Serenity.
Yeah. It wasn't even like well shot or
really?
anything. It was just like, it felt like kind of gimmicky. Like this whole thing's in a car. Like it's not even as good as like Phone Booth from what I remember anyway. Like Phone Booth is cheesy as fuck, but at least at that I can remember certain things.
Yeah,
about
so that's
it.
goofy than Phone Booth, right? It's like a different tone.
I know it's a different tone.
It's
but-
really like an actor's performance-driven movie, and like you got a really good actor. It's all
Yeah.
about Tom Hardy, really.
It's been too long, to be honest.
Yeah, Locke was
2013.
dumb. Was bullshit.
People like Locke.
fucking
I mean,
Serenity is awesome.
it's
Jesus.
dumb. It's not. You mean ironically awesome?
Yeah,
The
it
whole
was great.
thing was like a fucking.
Redacted.
It's like the worst. You want to talk about bad twists? Like that's
love
like the
that.
worst twist I think I've seen recently. M.
love
Night couldn't
that
even come
movie.
up with one that bad. It's a.
Redacted.
It's a.
Redacted. Redacted.
Don't spoil the
The whole movie
experience
is
of
a-
Serenity. I'm gonna
Oh,
edit
fuck
that out.
Serenity.
No, it's so good. It's
This movie-
so
first of all,
funny.
this movie came out like fucking years ago. This is like one of the worst movies we should recommend.
2019.
It's like
It's
one of
such
the
a
worst
funny
fucking
movie.
movies. It's one of the worst fucking movies I think I've ever seen.
I need to add
Awful.
this to my list. My best of
Instead of video
2019.
Add this to my list. I remember you guys
Yeah.
telling me about it, but I never saw it for myself.
Yeah, don't spoil Serenity for people. It's important.
Fuck Serenity.
No, it's great.
If you want to watch it, you should see it soon.
Yeah. What were we talking about? What was the question?
what were we
I
talking
dunno.
about?
That was about Tom Hardy or whatever. We got it.
Yeah, whatever.
A young 12-volt has one for us. What are your guys' thoughts on alternate rating systems? Ralph and Alex, is there a reason you prefer to rate films out of 5? Adam, is there a reason you prefer to rate films out of 10? Considering all of you have subdivided your ratings in some form or another, e.g. Ralph and Alex giving a film 2.5 out of 5, or Adam saying a film is closer to a 7 than a 5, have you considered rating films out of 10, 20, or 100? Subsequent question, what do you guys think about the minus 10 to 10 rating system, where the magnitude of the number represents your enjoyment and the sign of the number represents the film's quality? E.g., The Holy Mountain would be a 10 out of 10, Gotti would be a 0 out of 10, and The Room would be a minus 7 out of 10.
It's very intricate.
No.
That is
We-
very
we,
intricate.
I just, it's out of 10 because that's what my IMDb ratings are. I'm just telling you my IMDb rating.
Same here. It's the letterboxed rating system.
Yeah, I see no difference between 5 stars and 10.
Yeah, exactly. You can convert 2.5 out of 5 into, a 5 out of 10, and you can convert that into 50 out of 100, which is a percent. You convert to 50%. Like, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So would you give Locke a 0?
I think I gave Locke like a 4. Let's see.
The minus is interesting. I like that idea.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
kind of
use it as like
intrigued by this minus
I
idea.
didn't enjoy the movie, like if I hated the movie, I would give it a minus. Like I would put it in my enjoyment actually. Like Disaster Movie would be a minus 10. The Room might be a 0.
Well, this one's saying more like disaster movie. Disaster movie would be like a 0, right? But like Ben and Arthur would be like a minus 10. Right.
Really? Just because of how poorly executed
Is
Ben
that
and
the way?
Arthur
Because
is.
they're saying like The Holy Mountain would be a genuine 10 out of 10. Gotti would be a 0 because it's just so bad, and The Room would be minus 7 out of 10 because it's actually entertaining somewhat and funny.
Yeah, I just don't know. That's a really confusing.
Apparently, I gave Locke a 5
Okay.
out of 10.
I feel like if you overcomplicate the rating system, it loses its purpose of
Yeah,
just
if you
like
got to spend
informing
like 5
the
minutes
viewer.
explaining how
Yeah.
it works. Like,
If there's like I would say like if there was a new standard, I should probably abide to it. If the -10 ever does come into effect, if like audiences are that smart enough, I feel like the rating system we have now works. It's like the easiest to communicate like what I thought of it
yeah.
in like the quickest way.
Yeah, it's fun to experiment with this stuff, I guess, but just keep it simple at a certain point, you know? Just, God damn it.
Well, yeah, because then it loses its function of like.
Well, so, yeah, what you're actually talking about.
Yeah,
Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, like, do you even care about the movie at that point?
Should,
You're like,
should I explain the rating system or explain my opinion on the movie?
I give this one a -4.
I'm giving this one
yeah,
8 cheeseburgers out of 7 umbrellas. Like, okay.
He Is So Weird 20 has one for us. Have any of you guys seen, or they mentioned this earlier, the new Korean show Squid Game on Netflix? If so, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah,
Just
everyone is
finished it
fucking telling me
yesterday.
about the show. Everyone is telling me about it. I have to watch it.
You finished it yesterday. It was one of the things when I was bedridden with this illness. I watched the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
well, Ralph, if you're gonna watch it anyway, we're gonna record the next episode a week early, so we'll have 3 weeks between that and the next one.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a
9-episode
good one.
miniseries, yeah.
Venom and Squid Game. It'd be like a popular discussion.
Well,
That'd be
Venom we'll
cool.
be talking about next week.
Yeah. Well, I can watch Squid Game soon.
Oh, really?
I could. Maybe
you wanna?
even next week. I mean,
Okay.
Sure. I mean, yeah. We'll figure
Sure.
it out. But we got
It's
time.
quite bingeable.
But yeah, I'll definitely watch it soon. It's just like everyone's talking about it. They're like, oh, it's the greatest fucking thing ever made. I'm like, okay, it's probably not. And then Alice's rating seemed much more reasonable. Like when I saw your rating on Letterboxd or whatever, I'm like, okay, it's probably good. People are hyping it up a little too much for my liking. I hate
Yeah,
that kind
I
of
gotta
shit.
admit, I did bump it up half a star from that rating.
Yeah,
I've been thinking
yeah.
about it too much.
People say
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, I'm still kind of torn, and I was like totally like cough syruped up, like just out of my mind ill, so I might need to go through some of it again, but
Yeah,
I did enjoy it. I understand what is connecting with people about it, I think.
Yeah, I'll talk about it when we all do a thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a review
Alright,
on it
cool.
also. So
So I guess that's our
Yeah.
answer for now.
yeah, I
Yeah.
seen it.
Squid Game.
Squid Game.
A movie guy 2004 has a quick one. Tips on taking notes during films. You mentioned earlier, you obviously can't really take good notes in a theater. Do you have any solution for that? Do you just not bother? You just mentally note
I
it
just
down?
try to get things down as quickly as possible after the movie. When the credits start or whatever, then I'll just pull my phone up and just jog down things that I think I'm about to forget if I don't do it right away.
Right.
No, I don't forget anything. I just watch. the
How do you
movie.
know you don't forget anything? Because if you forgot something, you wouldn't know.
Then I figure that it's just not worth it. Probably.
Okay.
If I forgot it, it's not worth saying. But it usually comes back to me. I write notes later. Usually, the first time I watch a movie, I don't write any notes. So, like a theater experience, that's usually the first time I see a movie. There's
Yeah.
like no reason.
I could maybe
The
bring a
second time,
notepad,
I usually
but don't know.
try to pause it. Not all the time, but I usually try to pause it. I just feel it's distracting to write notes.
If I'm watching at home, then yeah, I might pause
Yeah.
to write a couple things down. I might try taking notes with a notepad. I think I did that a couple times before, but I can't see what I'm writing down in a theater. So
Yeah.
Yeah, notepad is
Yeah.
usually good. It's a good way to write it in a theater, but I usually just don't even bother
Mhm.
with that. I have like tons of like leftover notes.
I'll audio dictate to my phone. I'll just say that in the movie. I'll say my notes out loud on my phone, so I don't have to type it.
Might as well just blend in with the popcorn crunching and the baby
Yeah.
screaming or whatever. No one will notice. Got quite a weird one here from Outlandish Narwat. Sorry, Narwhal. God, I can't read today. What are your favourite cheeses? Also, if Alex would do a Wallace from Wallace and Gromit impression, it would make me so happy.
I would say cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah, that's good. That was good. Wallace likes cheese and crackers. That's what got me into cheese and crackers.
Well, the most Wallace thing is that he does this hand movement, which is half the character.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't see right now.
I like a good soft brie.
Yeah, Brie's good. Brie's up there.
If we're talking about like sliced cheese, I
Mozzarella?
like Swiss a lot. Mozzarella is great for pizzas and on its own even. I don't know how much of a Canadian thing this is, but like cheese curds, like squeaky Montreal cheese curds, those are good.
See, I just reject the word curd so much. It makes me think of like British puddings. Loads of them are made out of curd. Even if it's like not something bad, it's just something about the word to me. It just puts me off. Even if it's delicious, I don't know.
Oh, it's great. It's an ingredient in poutine. So if you're ever going to have a good poutine, as the non-Montrealers would call it.
I'll embrace the curd for some poutine, I mean.
You know, Italian cheeses.
How
Parmesan.
do you feel about goat's cheese?
I don't think I've had it.
I might have had it. I don't know. Probably fine. I'm really not a picky eater. There's like very few things that I don't like.
Yeah. Mozzarella, gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola.
Wensleydale?
Ricotta. Burrata cheese.
Yeah, I like the few times that I've had like one of those like quattro formaggio pizzas or whatever. Like they're pretty good.
Cheese with like, yeah. Okay.
They've got those like, they look like they got like big splotches of like, you know, they're using like some real mozzarella.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever fucked around with vegan cheese?
Yes, I have many times.
What's the takeaway? Because last time I tried it, it wasn't there yet.
Still not okay. If you're looking to replicate the exact taste and feel and functionality of cheese, then you're right, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
There are places that do it like fairly well. It's the biggest problem right now is the melting aspect.
Yeah.
There's like some really good cheese spreads. Like there's good cream cheeses that are vegan where it's like, okay, like this is like basically it. There's some that are like imitating like brie kind of, and it's like, okay, well this doesn't taste like that, but you can use it in the same way, like in a spread sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of like shredded melting cheese, still needs some work. We need some top minds on this one. We need some good scientists to bring us closer.
Top men, yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard to just replicate the exact same thing.
Yeah, but it's like, what is the goal even, right? Because I actually prefer like Beyond Meat patties to real beef patties, right? I prefer what it tastes like, and I'm not going to say, oh yeah, this tastes exactly the same, because I like it better. So it really depends on what your goal is for eating something vegan in terms of like what you want to get out of it taste-wise, I guess.
But I think like the Beyond Burger, that's like a good sort of equivalent, you know? You're getting a nice flavor, a nice texture. It's mimicking
it's different
it in a
for sure.
certain way, but yeah.
But it's still good.
But it's like satisfying. But vegan cheese is just kind of like a bit off.
Yeah. There's some that are good. I don't know if I could like name them right now, but there's some that I like.
It's hard.
They have like vegan cheese slices that I'll eat like just the cheese slice as a snack, and it's like I don't have to use it the same way. I don't have to like melt it on a burger or anything. It's just like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
And I treat it as its own kind of thing in the same way where it's like you could have called this something that's not cheese, and it would be, you know, I would eat it and be like, oh, that's good. Like you can take these same ingredients, and it's not like, you know, if you make like a new puffed chip made out of like pea fiber or something, like that doesn't necessarily have to be replicating something. You can just call it a new snack, right? But I think it's like the idea of it trying to replicate something else that turns a lot of people off, when I think a lot of it is just mentality, where it's like, it's not like people who hate vegan food don't avoid things that don't have meat in it. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm never going to eat a fucking tortilla chip because it's vegan. No, it's like a lot of what turns people off of it is like the implication that it's like replicating or trying to replace another existing food item, and then they think about that food item, they're like, this doesn't taste like a beef, this doesn't taste like a egg, and then that disappointment like carries through in terms of how they feel about it, you know, when it's like, I don't know, you could just market it as something different and people would probably like it. You know,
the rage probably sells more of them. People get angry.
I feel like the goal for like the vegan stuff or whatever is to make it taste as good or better than like a real meat patty.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So that you don't kill like, you know, pigs anymore. I feel like that's the ultimate
lab
goal.
grown,
but you know,
also
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, like you could do something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't want to eat like I think of like Snowpiercer. They like eat cockroaches and make them into like gel squares, and then like serve them out. Like I don't want to eat that shit.
If it tastes
But,
good, I'd
you know,
fucking eat it.
There's definitely
I
like
don't
a
give a shit.
balance. Yeah, right, yeah, right. If you make it taste good, then I'll eat it. You know, even if like not all the time, and like having a regular meat patty is like a special thing. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. Or
Yeah,
you
why
could
not?
get one at like McDonald's. Like we're not at that level yet. Where like McDonald's gives you one that tastes
I mean,
good.
fast food chains have started adopting the Beyond Burgers and Impossible Burgers. Yeah.
Yeah, certain ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely started. It has started. It's like a special thing, and
Yeah.
it usually people don't like the taste of it. I don't like the taste of it at all. I
mean,
think it's gross.
There's enough people that like it that it's being adopted many
Yeah,
places.
definitely. I like the chicken ones a little better, like the imitation chicken. or
Yeah,
whatever.
depending on them.
I guess it's all the same shit,
Yeah,
right?
it can
It's
be
all
right,
like
yeah.
tofu or something.
Soy protein.
The cheese one sounds weird. It's just like a very hard thing to replicate.
Yeah.
Cheese, it's like such a specific flavor and texture.
Mhm. I'd like a slice of cheese, please. From her. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know why that quote's been in my mind. All right, next question.
I'm a concept, as this to say. Oh, and this kind of feeds back into what you were saying earlier about that Ridley Scott movie. What do you think of the famous Francois Truffaut statement that it's impossible to make a true anti-war movie because to show something is to ennoble it? If you disagree, what are some examples of truly anti-war films? If you agree, are there any other genres that you think are similarly limited by the medium?
That's bullshit.
Yeah, that was my gut response.
Well, the argument's anything you show in a movie is glorifying it, which I think is an extreme. I think that's a radical choice.
That's just
I don't think
an
you can, I don't think you
untrue
can
statement.
apply that to everything. I don't think you can apply that to everything. You know,
Yeah.
there's no thing in art where like everything is this way. There's sometimes you show something and it's not glorifying it.
So I went and found the original quote to make sure it's accurate. Where is it? From the Chicago Tribune in 1973, I guess. I find that violence is very ambiguous in movies. For example, some films claim to be anti-war, but I don't think I've really seen an anti-war film. Every film about war ends up being pro-war. So that was in November 11th, 1973.
Well, then he's talking about his experience so far. He wasn't saying
Yeah,
that
he's
it's
talking
impossible.
about his experience.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
saying
it's
the
talking about,
films that he's
it's up
seen.
to your interpretation. Yeah, I feel like most audiences are smart enough to have their own opinion of war, like before they see a movie. I don't think a movie's gonna shift your opinion on war
Yeah.
one way or the other. It's just like showing it. That's all a war film is trying to do. They just show the war.
Well, just
Yeah.
think about like
Yeah.
some of the war films we have talked about on this podcast alone. Like Come and See,
Yep.
Grave of the Fireflies. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't get much more like anti-war than the kind of messages that come through these movies, especially
Right.
fucking Come and See. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, come and see. Right? Would you call Black Hawk Down a pro-war film? That's why you listed it as a guilty pleasure. Like for me, because people would say like it's like a military, join the military, you get to shoot, like it'd be cool. There's like cool rock music. It's like Call of Duty. Like real war obviously isn't that cool as it's presented in Black Hawk Down. But
It's been a while since I've
like
seen
a
that, but it
movie.
sounds like Act of Valor. Do you remember that movie? That sounds like the kind of
Sure.
thing you're describing.
Act of Valor is too, except that movie has like terrible acting. Like this movie has like Eric Bana and like real actors in it. Tom Hardy's in it too. Actually, we were talking about him.
Isn't
He's in
Ian
it
McGregor
briefly.
in Black Hawk Down?
Ian McGregor, yeah. Tom Sizemore, he's in Saving Private Ryan. Would you call that a pro-war movie? I would say like it makes the military look like cool, and it shows like their like camaraderie and like brotherhood. Like that's kind of what keeps them going. It's like the world is more complex than just like pro-war, anti-war. Like there's different aspects to war and like to the military that you have to, and analyze and dissect and like give an audience credit to like know these things already. Like when they go see your movie, no one's going to see a movie like, oh, I love war now. Like I'm going to join the military and kill a bunch of people. Like just from watching a movie. Like that's not how people work. And no one is going to be shifted like the other way. like, oh, now I hate war because Come and See showed me that war is terrible. It's just a movie. I don't know.
I mean, films can influence
It's
your
just
perspective.
extreme.
I would say that that's a thing that.
But a film like trying to shift your perspective too much is just like a bit pretentious. It should just
I mean,
show.
I'm not going to say that it's impossible for it to happen. Otherwise, why would propaganda films even
I'd say
exist?
very few movies have even had that impact on like my life. Very few. And some of them have been war movies, like Apocalypse Now. Like that's a great war film. I'd say that's anti-war.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse Now. Like just the fucking title.
Yeah. Poultrygeist influenced my perspective on chicken restaurants.
You say that's anti-war?
Yeah, well, thank you for looking up the original quote, Alex, because I think that the way that it was phrased in the comment, maybe it's not the fault of the commenter and they were taking it from somewhere else, but that was a bit, I don't know if that was an accurate representation of what he was trying to say.
It makes interesting discussion, though. Yeah. I feel like there is like a frame of like thinking like that I think is wrong. Like not everything you show is wrong in a movie. Yeah, like not everything is glorified in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Irreversible. Like I don't think that is like glorifying anything that happens in that film.
Mm-hmm.
The violence in it. I'd say it's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Francois. I will check out your film, The 400 Blows, at some point.
Let's do this one from GGG375. Do you think seeing films in the cinemas with a large screen and booming sound system sometimes cause people to think more highly of films than the ones they see at home? Is there anything inherently wrong if a movie works better in one environment than another?
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that because that's true for every movie, that there's better environments than others to watch them in. However, if a movie is only good with watching it in a theater, then it's not a good movie. That's my perspective. Like, if you need the big screen and big sound, so it's more of like an amusement park ride than an actual film, then it's not the film, it's the sound system in the theater, right? Like that's not the movie doing it. You're just like, wow, big noise.
What if it's something like an IMAX action sequence it's just better? Like on one of those huge
Better's
screens
different
with everything.
than what I was saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was saying, like, if it's only... No, you didn't watch the movie right. You disliked it because you didn't see it in IMAX. Like, I don't think that's a thing.
Right.
I've said before, I think, you should watch it the way the director intends. Like, he usually says, like, Chris Nolan, watch it in theater. Yeah. David Lynch, don't watch it on your fucking phone.
God.
Don't use scene selection. That goes too far sometimes. But take it into consideration. Take that into consideration when you're watching the movie, I'd say. I mean, don't deny that reality. Like, the director makes the movie for theater. The director, I'd say, like an instance of it going too far was Gemini Man, where you had to watch it like 60 frames a second or whatever in like two theaters of the United States. Like, you know, I watched it in IMAX. I did like the next best thing I could possibly do to like appease Ang Lee.
Yeah,
like that's all I could do. You know. But I feel like you should take that into consideration because there's like movies made for IMAX like Tenet that are fucking great in that environment. And then there's dramas that you could probably watch that in IMAX too. It'd be great. But, you know, there's a reason not every movie's released in IMAX. It's just not suited for that environment.
This also happens with pretentious indie films. Fucking Apichatpong Rasitharal, who made Uncle Boon Me. His newest film has Tilda Swinton in it. And an article came out recently that for the rest of its release, it's never going to be on digital or Blu-ray or anything. It's never having a home release.
Wow.
And it's going to only play in theaters, but only in one city at a time forever. So it's like, so it'll be like, it's in Vancouver this week.
That's stupidity.
I know. And I had a ticket to see it at Vancouver Film Festival. But it was like, at the same time, I'm like, I've seen 2 of your other movies and they were boring as shit. Like, I only want to see this because Tilda Swinton's in it.
It's probably one of those.
And then,
he doesn't want anyone to watch it. So he's just like, yeah.
But yeah, I had important things to do the next day. And I was like, I needed to go to bed early. And I had like a long day the next day. I'm like, I'm not playing your fucking game of Apichatpong. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll see it again if it comes back to Vancouver for like a week in 2024 or something. Or maybe someone will be a hero and fucking do it
Redacted.
for something. Actually, I'm not saying do that. We're going to edit that part out. That's too much. I went too far.
It's okay.
Or maybe a copy will find its way onto the internet in the future, like Gaspar Noé's fucking Lux Eterna, because there's no other way to watch it.
Yeah, like that. But I wish they would just release the movie. I was gonna mention another one, Game of Thrones. Like the last season, they shot like an episode to be in IMAX, like so it's way too dark to like watch in television. And then director
Right.
said like it was made for like IMAX theaters, and I don't know, it's a television show
Yeah.
that like 10 million people
What are you
watch
making?
live, like the second it comes out, and it's way too dark for like most people to see on a
Wait,
screen.
is that
Like,
why
people
that
watch
episode
it
was
at
so
a
dark?
bar.
Because it was IMAX.
Yeah, it's like the third episode. It's like the White Walker.
Yeah, you're
fight.
supposed
Yeah,
to
I
watch it in
remember
a
it being
theater,
really
you
dark.
dumbass.
Yeah, like I'm watching it
Duh.
like with my friends, like on a TV. We have the lights on because we're having snacks.
weren't
So there's,
watching
like,
it
all
right.
the reflection. There's all the reflection on the television. Like we can't see what the fuck is going on for most of the episode.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm watching it wrong. Right, television's different. There's a different standard. That's why there's television standards of lighting, and HBO, I guess, tries to. I think maybe The Sopranos or the earlier episodes of Game of Thrones kind of mimic the theater style a bit better with the lighting.
Yeah.
Definitely gets too
Yeah.
dark. Like at the end, you're still making like a TV show. They definitely like, I guess, cross the line. With that one.
Anyway, I think that any movie that I truly love, I could watch on my fucking telephone and still enjoy it. It's not dependent on having a big screen.
Yeah, a good story is a good story.
But there are films where I would still recommend it for an audio-visual experience. All my favorite movies. Well, not even all my favorite movies, but something like, I don't know, Koyani Scotzi. Something that's like really viscerally visual audio. I would never say it's only good because of that, but it's
I have a good
the
home
ideal
theater
experience.
setup. I try to watch most movies that way, and like
Same.
with good sound, and
Yeah.
just to get that experience. It doesn't have to be a theater anymore necessarily. But yeah, I could watch Tenet at home and still really enjoy the action.
Mhm. All right, I guess that's it for questions.
Yeah,
We did it.
we did it.
Yeah.
I guess
Halloween
it's my
spectacular.
recommendation.
Okay.
Still not Halloween yet, so fuck it. I am doing everyone in the world a favor by recommending One Cut of the Dead, because
Yes.
it is disgusting that you haven't seen it. And all I'm going to say is do not look up anything about it. All you need to know is that it is a low-budget Japanese zombie film filmed all in one take, and that you should keep watching past the end credits. And that's all of the information that you should have. One Cut of the Dead. What year was this?
2017, it looks like.
2017. There we go. That's the recommendation,
Awesome.
everybody. Thank you for listening. If you don't want to be spoiled for the recommendation, One Cut of the Dead, then watch it before next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks, but you can listen to them early as they're edited by going to sardonicast.com and signing up for premium, or patreon.com/sardonicast. We also got some merch. Christmas is coming up. You want to give someone a gift. Well, fuck. There's gifts right there. Do it. Why don't you? Thank you. Happy Happy M. Night Synecdoche. Happy Shrek.
Happy old.
Happy Shrek.
Don't go to the beach, so it turns you old.
Will do.
Go on.
Watch
Seems
out.
pretty fun there.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.